Welcome to Ring Talk, the Goodwin Boxing Weekly Show, episode 163 of myself, Martin Theobald, joined by, as ever, Steve Goodwin. How are you, Steve?
I'm good, my friend. How many years have we been doing this for now?
How many years? Well, I had that brief interlude where Kev came and took over for a bit. So, but given it's 163, it tells me it's at least, well, we had a break. I'm going to say at least 4, probably 5 years. Because there was also sort of COVID and stuff didn't really happen.
I'd say probably. Yeah, long time.
Yeah.
We were doing them, weren't we? We were doing them in because we did it differently before. So I think,
We used to have Facebook live stream, didn't we, as well?
It only could be 6 years, 6 years probably.
Yeah.
God almighty. Jesus.
Yeah. Do you know, every now and then I see some of the old fight posters pop up and I see the names that are on there, and I always find them really interesting when you see sort of those lads that were on what were essentially development cards, maybe some of them at the time, and sort of where those names have gone on to. And, lads that were sort of 2 fights into their career that have gone on to English titles. One of them was Brad Pauls that sort of, he was on one that I looked at the other day that was one where Johnny Garton fought the guy who went mad in the ring and started trying to fight the ref.
I remember that.
I think that had, like, off the top of my head, Joel McIntyre and Matty Chander and such like on it as well. Sort of those names that went on to do big
stuff.
things.
Yeah. It's good though, isn't it? It's really interesting when you look back. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Have you still got the wall of posters knocking about?
No, we took them down and we gave them to a gym who wanted them. So we don't get them anymore. So nowadays posters are mainly done online now, aren't they? You don't physically have posters anymore. So it's all we just keep them all logged on a computer now.
Yeah. So no, it's many years we've been doing this, and see those names come through, and the new names that we're talking about sort of nowadays are, some of them achieving lots already, and some of them will go on and become those Brad Pauls that sort of were, higher up the card and end up headlining or doing bigger things. So
exactly.
So it's always evolving and interesting.
59
that achieved something.
59 champion last Saturday.
Almost seamlessly linked in, all these years of practice and working. Egbunike.
Yeah. He won. You didn't see it, did you? Because it wasn't on the Channel 5. I'm not sure it was on the DAZN stream. I think it was might have been on the DAZN stream before.
Oh, I forgot DAZN was streaming. I just watched a Channel 5 one, which
I think it was on DAZN. He won 96-94, but it was one of those fights. I mean, Rod, who's the other trainer, they thought they won, but that's just nuts. I mean, I'm really fair when I think we've had a lucky decision. I am. And it was one of those fights where it was close. And it was close, and the rounds were competitive, but you always knew he was ahead and winning. If one of them where you never... I thought the score was bang on, 96-94, maybe 97-94, something like that. But he was always winning. So when it went to the cards, I didn't have any doubt. So it was one of those, really. It was a competitive fight, but one where Obi was always having the edge. And so that's he got avenged for his 6th-round loss against him many moons ago. But I thought he'd done really well. And first champion for his trainer, Aaron Woodstock, as well. So good for everybody, and Obi's a lovely kid. And we'll sit down and plan where we're going to go from here. So obviously he'll have some opportunities come up as a result of that. Yeah,
and it's now where do you manoeuvre him, I guess, isn't it? In terms of move him up or hold him there for a little while, or the future. Well, he's a lot brighter than it was last week.
Well, he's coming. Look, he's only been with me. He's had 3 fights under my banner. We've had a warm-up. He came to me because he hadn't won anything. And he's had a warm-up fight, an English title shot live on Sky Sports, and a Southern Area title fight on DAZN on Wasserman's. We haven't done bad for him, have we?
Yeah, and he's done well in all those fights as well. He's not won all of them, but he's done well.
Exactly.
Yeah, so good on him. Congratulations, Obi, and enjoy that belt. We're going to keep this one relatively short this week because there's not a huge amount we can announce, and then we're going to be off next week if you're away in Turkey, and then the week after there should be lots that we can discuss heading into June,
Yeah.
By which point, loads of paperwork should be returned, and yeah, you'll be in a position to tell everybody all the things.
There's some great fights coming up. Some really good fights, particularly for the 8th of June. Working on a really big card for the 8th of June.
Yeah.
Really.
So in the meantime, the biggest thing coming out of the boxing world, I suppose, this week, lots of the fights have been reported online already as happening, but it was all sort of formally announced. The Matchroom versus Queensberry 5 versus 5, which almost goes under the radar, but this is all undercard to Beterbiev Bivol.
Yeah.
It's an insane sort of card overall.
Isn't it?
Sort of, you can criticize boxing all you like, be as cynical all you like, but actually, if it's just about who are the people stood opposite one another in the ring, this card is ridiculous. So we'll run through it. So the top is that Beterbiev Bivol undisputed light heavyweight fight, which in and of itself, if you just had a card that only had that on it, you'd be happy.
Yeah.
And then they've sort of built underneath it this 5 versus 5. So off the top of my head, we'll see if I can remember all of them. You got Ray Ford against Nick Ball.
Yeah. So, I mean, Nick Ball has been a big success, hasn't he? He's exciting to watch. He should have won last time, although he's got a draw on his record. That draw, in my opinion, is not wasn't a draw. It was a win. But I think he gets beat. I think Ford will beat him. I know Ford wants to go up a weight, but I think Ford will be too much for Nick Ball. I think there are levels, and I think Nick Ball is brilliant. He's entertaining. He should have won last time, but I think he's met his match in this fight.
I haven't watched enough of Ford to really have an opinion. What I do think is that if Nick Ball comes up against somebody with a high boxing IQ, he's going to have problems. I don't know if that person is Ray Ford or not.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of one-dimensional, coming forward constantly. It's effective and it's fun, but I do think there's a ceiling that it has.
Yeah. I'm not thinking, but it's a good fight. It's a really competitive fight.
Brilliant. Again, I don't know Ford that well, but another opportunity for Nick Ball to fight for a world title. Excellent. Darren Ammo Williams against Hamza Shiraz. So that's the captain of Team Queensberry, Hamza Shiraz. I love that fight.
Yeah, who do you fancy?
Shiraz.
Oh, yeah, I do as well.
Yeah, I think. Again, not that I'm massively familiar with Williams. Sort of seen enough of him that I can sort of make an educated guess on it, and I think Shiraz is a handful for nearly every middleweight, though.
So do I. The board last week made Shiraz against Nathan Heaney, which, I don't think that's really happening. It was a very strange decision, that, because Shiraz is going on to other things, especially if he wins. He's not going to fight Nathan Heaney, is he, for the British?
Yeah, I didn't understand that one. I thought, if I'm Heaney, I'm not fighting Shiraz for the British. I've no interest in that.
But it just locks it up now, doesn't it? It just locks it.
Yeah. And what do they do?
If you're looking to do a lock-up, if you're looking to lock the title, that's the way you do it, isn't it? You just lock it so nothing happens for a while, because it gives Queensberry control of the belt. They don't make the fight, and they just sit on it for a while. So I think you'll see the title frozen, which is a bit of a shame, really. But it gives them the chance for Heaney to go on and do a world title fight and still hold the British, because the Shiraz fight won't happen.
Yeah. Craig Richards against Willie Hutchinson. Yeah,
not a bad fight. I think that's probably the most competitive fight, the closest. A lot of them are close. They're not 80-20s and whatever. So, but of all of them, I think that's the closest fight of the lot.
I agree. It's the least glamorous, probably, of all the fights. But from a purist perspective of Willie Hutchinson has been with Queensberry early on, Richards early on, two British lads. That to me really feels like a Matchroom versus Queensberry fight. Some of the others maybe not so much, but partly because some of them are American names. Again, I don't really sort of take in too much of the American stuff.
They are, apart from Deontay Wilder, they are fighters that have fought under the Hearn banner.
Yeah, they are.
Deontay Wilder is just went to heavyweight, isn't it? But
yeah, I don't tend to watch American stuff too much, really. So, but I really like the Richards Hutchinson one for that sort of feeling of it's real. Get two British lads together, Matchroom Queen.
I mean, I hope Craig wins. I hope Craig wins. I'd like to see Craig win. I think he's done it the hard way, and I really hope to see Craig win.
Yeah, so do I. Do you think he will?
Yeah, I think Egbunike, I'd say it's a fight, probably 55-45 in his favour.
Yeah, I mean, Hutchinson, since his defeat, hasn't sort of come back too much. He had that fight recently where he stopped the German lad. Richards has been completely inactive, changed trainer. It's a good opportunity for both, really. And winner goes on.
Yeah. Good fight.
I don't know what they do with him, really.
Good fight, though. Good fight.
Yeah, no, it's great fun. And the two heavyweight ones are brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, Hrgović Dubois, a fight neither man needs, really, do they? Hrgović is sat in line for the IBF.
But it's going to be for the IBF, though, isn't it?
Assuming that Fury and Usyk sort of scatter the belts.
Yeah. I think it will be for the IBF. And obviously, you've got to make Hrgović the favourite, haven't you? But not a massive favourite.
No.
I mean, I think I wouldn't be surprised on any result in that fight. It's a good fight. Again, we're talking about these fights, and not one of them are we saying that's nailed on, that's nailed on. Not one of them are saying they're nailed on. Not even Hamza Shiraz. There's none of them nailed on.
No.
It's a great fight. Great fight. But, I mean, Dubois, we can say he gave Usyk trouble, but he did get stopped. Like he got stopped. So he's been stopped twice now in two big fights. But he's a good fighter. And I'm not been overly impressed with Hrgović.
I've not been massively impressed with Hrgović. And sort of go back to the Zhang fight, and he lost that fight to Zhang. Don't care what anyone says. I know Zhang has gone on and proven himself after that fight. He was an unknown sort of commodity at that point. So it's aged okay, that result. But there's nothing that he's ever done that has stood out to me as being. He doesn't have anything that's like an X factor of power or work rate or everything's sort of a 7 out of 10.
Totally agree. So Dubois, he's got a really good chance because he's got a really good chance of beating him. Listen, he gave Usyk some trouble, although he was well beaten in the end. But Hrgović is not Usyk.
Yeah, no, I agree. Was that the last Dubois fight?
No, he had. Who's he boxed? He's had one since, hasn't he?
I can't remember. I was just when you said about it being for a world title, I thought, is he going to have to go off to a Spanish leisure centre somewhere and pick up
Jarrell Miller.
Oh, he did, didn't he? Yeah. I can't forget that. Yeah. I favoured Dubois for it. I don't know why, really. I just think he must be learning as he's going along. He's had some tough fights as he's gone along. From the Joe Joyce, the Usyk one, Jarrell Miller. And he's still young and he's still sort of developing. And he keeps changing and hopping around trainers. He must be picking stuff up. There must come a point that he gets a result, I think. I don't know where that is. I hope it's here. I'd like to see him win one.
Yeah, so would I. Of course, we want him to win. And Don Charles in his corner, so hopefully for them they can produce a win. But great fight. Great fight. Yeah. Great fight.
That's brilliant. And then the final one, as you say, rent a heavyweight, signed to Matchroom sort of, I don't know, on the day or whatever. Deontay Wilder against Zhilei Zhang.
You've got to favour Zhang after Wilder's last performance. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, Wilder has regressed so much. He's got one weapon. If we all accept, he can do other things, but he's got one weapon. And if he doesn't use it, then it's a bit pointless being in there. And Joseph Parker has sort of taken away the legacy of both of them to some degree. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just a Wilder fan. I like to think he can still
do it. I mean, it'd be exciting to watch, but I do agree. But I think he's Well, yeah, again, it's still an enthralling fight. If he does the same again, that's him done, isn't it? So
Yeah, and if he's not willing to throw his right hand against Zhang's massive head, then he's not going to be willing to throw it ever, is he? I mean, he can't miss with that. It's sort of there couldn't be a better target for him. But
oh, be a good good fight again. Good fight.
brilliant fight. They're all brilliant fights. I say sort of it would be a standalone card, let alone having the undisputed light heavyweight world titles sort of being fought for. What do you make to the like? It doesn't feel to me like a Matchroom versus Queensberry. I know that's sort of it's a gimmicky kind of thing used to sell the concept, but it feels a little bit like false advertising to me to whack Deontay Wilder in there and claim it.
Yeah, because Zhang really isn't a Warren fighter as such. Wilder's not a Hearn fighter as such. They might have done it conveniently for this. I mean, Hrgovic, Dubois fair, because Hrgovic really operates, although Hrgovic is really a Sauerland fighter operating alongside Hearn. Hutchinson Richards is fair, that's right.
Yeah.
Ford Ball, that's fair.
Yeah.
Shiraz Williams is fair. I think the Americans are still Hearn fighters. They're just American. So
yeah, it's the Wilder one that does me. And you know, it sort of made me feel like, you know, with the Saudi Football League where they don't sign the players to the clubs, they just sign them to the league and then they allocate them a club sort of as and where it sort of feels a little bit like that. And like if that's the model going forward, cool. No issue with it as long as you sort of get the biggest and best fighters there. Brilliant. But
I mean, do you watch any of that Saudi Arabian football? I don't. No interest in that at all.
I couldn't care less about it's sort of, you know, I'm involved in veterans football. It feels like that, really. You've got a lot of 35-year-olds running around way past their best, with about 7 people watching it from the side. No interest. But yeah, it does sort of feel. And I was wondering, what happens if someone gets injured? Have they got a reserve lineup for this?
Eddie Hearn said they've got people in place.
Okay. I wonder if they got one per weight category.
Yeah. Maybe they'll bring in substitute fights if they need to. You know, you just don't know, do you? I'm sure they've got it covered. There's enough money there to have it covered.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. And the only other sort of boxing news from the week was an interesting one that got announced yesterday. Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano going on the undercard of Jake Paul, Mike Tyson.
Is that right? I didn't see that.
Yeah. So
what happened with the Katie Taylor Chantel Cameron fight? What's happened with that?
No, it's not happening. They've gone with the Serrano rematch because Serrano's linked with Jake Paul.
Yeah, of course.
They've put it on, which will be on Netflix and sort of non-pay-per-view. Everybody gets to watch it. Yeah, on the undercard of Jake Paul, Mike Tyson.
Boxing's gone nuts, hasn't it?
It's insane. So how have you ended up with, you know, that, I don't know, one of the best women against one of the best women on the undercard of a YouTuber and 50-year-old, 60-year-old Mike Tyson? I don't know. It's mad.
I didn't know that. Shows I'm not with it all. But yeah, I'm too busy concentrating on our stuff. I think I'm sort of. I'll tell you what, I want to say something because I know that people have given him a lot of stick and rightfully so. But I want to say something good. Conor Benn was at your call last Friday night supporting a kid that was making a debut. I think he was.
Yeah, they showed him on Channel 5.
And Conor was sitting with that team for at least 2 hours before saying hello to everybody and doing it. I thought I've got a lot of respect for him for doing that. He didn't need to show up with all the stick he's having to go through and actually sat there and supported a kid that was obviously a friend from the gym and sat there and spoke to everybody that spoke to him. And I want to give him fair props for that because a lot of these fighters wouldn't come out and do that on a Friday night at your call. So full props to Conor Benn for that.
And to add to that, as you say, didn't have to be there. That fight didn't take place until nearly midnight, and he turned up and they were saying on commentary because he was there with Joe Cordina, wasn't he? I think they both bought their tickets. They weren't comped any. They both bought tickets from the lad who was fighting and paid for them themselves to be there.
Full credit. You've got to say, I've got to say, a lot of respect for him for that. A lot of respect.
No, I agree. And do you remember who was it? Your fighter where Conor came down and supported him because your
Yeah,
lad had been in sparring with him.
that's it. And he bought a ticket of him as well. That was a while ago.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, and he just sort of kept himself in the background
That's it.
watching. I mock Conor Benn for all the sort of obvious things that have happened, but I do believe deep down he's a decent bloke.
So do I.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant that he did that.
I actually think he's a decent bloke that's been badly advised. That's it. But he's a decent fella. I think he's a real decent human being. People that do that, they're decent people.
No, I actually agree. And sort of the badly advised, I think, may come from, if we talk about pre-test failing and then how you've been advised post, all of it. I think there's maybe, if he could rewind the clocks 3 years, he could probably put other people in place that would change how things have been handled. Which, ultimately is his team. You've got to take the responsibility for it. But I don't think he's done things with bad intentions necessarily. Because I don't think he's that kind of person. I think he's a decent enough person.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. No, I think that's brilliant that he was there. They said on commentary that he had bought his tickets from the lad.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. No, good on him. Good on him. Right. Let's take a week's break next week, Steve. You'll be off in Turkey.
And then when we come back, I hope we're going to be closing so many brilliant fights.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've heard of some of them. I'm sure there'll be more by the time we reconvene.
Yeah, we're working on it. Brilliant mind. Thank you very much.
Right. Cheers, mate. Enjoy Turkey.
We'll see you soon.
Ta.